Honey, where are you going?
Where are you going?
Again? Just where are you going?
Where are you going? You're not going to the bar again, are you?
You like hanging out, drinking beer at the bar, talking sports? Come on out and join us weekly. Guys at the Bar Talking Sports, your podcast for just that. Hanging out, drinking some beer, talking sports.
What's up, y'all? This is your boy, Hanger from Guys at the Bar Talking Sports. We're celebrating a half a decade here at Guys at the Bar Talking Sports as we get into season 5 of this podcast. And this is a great college football season, probably the best college football season that we're going to have in the history, only because we have a 12-team playoff to talk about, and I'm really excited about that. Some people are not, but I really am. So I'm looking forward to this season. I'm looking forward to having conversations with y'all on the podcast every single week. We're doing a live show here at MJ's Bar and Grill, the #1 bar and grill in Northeast Columbia. Come on down, join us. We're going to do this show from here every so often. As you hear in the background, we got a little bit of noise going on. That's because we're really at a bar, drinking some beer, hanging out, and we got some people drinking some bourbon too. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the show a little bit today. We're going to be talking a little bit about the matchups that are coming up this weekend and week 2 of college football, and we're going to talk about a few upsets as well. There's 4 upsets that I think we're going to be talking about, and I think that those are pretty solid. There's going to be some pissed off fans at the end of this weekend, I'm sure. I guarantee it. Maybe even Oregon fans, but we'll get into that later on. Clemson fans, they're already pissed off. What are you talking about? Okay, so go ahead and subscribe to the show if you're listening through your favorite podcast app. You can do that. You can give us a review and tell your friends about us. Bring a friend when you listen to the show. We always enjoy that. And then if you really want to, we run up a pretty big beer tab here every week. And if you want to buy us some beers, you can do that. Our Venmo handle is at Guys at the Bar Talking Sports. And we'll give you a nice shout out on the show while we're at it. Let's get some introductions done, shall we? So I don't bore you with my conversation. We got my man over here, the Rooster. What you doing, Rooster? How's it going today?
It's going good. I noticed that you're not bringing as much energy today. I'd feel the same way if I were you after my Florida Gators. I see you're still wearing the shirt.
Still wearing the shirt, so
I'm still wearing the shirt. Give you some credit on that one, but doing good over here. A little bourbon, a little ginger ale.
Once a Gator, always a Gator. I'm not messing around. And neither is my favorite female over here, Cheeks, who is happy about our USC Trojans win.
Except for I didn't pick on like a big dummy.
Never go against your team.
I know.
That's my #1 rule.
I
If you ever
know.
notice, I always go for
I
Florida.
have now learned from you, and I will never ever pick against them again.
That's the
Until
learn.
next year.
If you had done your research on it like I should have done, you would have known that backup quarterback that starts for USC this year threw for almost 400 yards in the bowl game last year because Caleb Williams sat out and wouldn't play.
Yep.
He's not a bad player, as
No.
the Tigers learned.
That's
Yeah.
right. We got my man, the Rebel, wearing the App State hat,
Always. I'm like you.
heading down to Clemson
I
this
am.
week. All right.
Be there noonish Saturday, and
Yep.
hope to have a long night.
And we got the Mountain Mama himself, the West Virginia fan wearing that shirt. How you feeling about your team right now, Mountaineer?
We are on Albany.
On
Albany.
All right.
Sounds like the head coach over there at West Virginia speech. You know, a lot of hype out there. Everybody's talking about the flood into Morganton last week. Fans showed up. The team did not.
It was a party until about 1:30 on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
They got a little bit more party time with that with the rain break. Then it came back and it was a bloodbath.
Yeah, that was the disappointing part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always the biggest SEC homer I've ever met in my life. My man, the Choppa. How's Auburn's feet, mate? How you feeling about the Auburn Tigers this year, my man?
Holy cow.
Long 73-point showing.
Guess who? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You can get accused like Spurrier used to of running up the score. But
Alabama A&M. It's like Texas A&M, only in Alabama.
Hey, just for the record, there's some other teams out there that wish they did half of that. Somebody like an Oregon Duck fan who played against Idaho and barely pulled out a squeaker.
Oh, or USC versus Old Dominion.
You know, win's a win when you're a Gamecock.
Well, you could have been Tarleton State that at halftime was 70-0, and 2 teams agreed to 5-minute quarters. At the end of the game.
That's
Don't
embarrassing.
sleep on those Tigers. They're going to sneak up on some people this season.
they might, but
They've been known to do that.
It's hard to tell after 1 week, but we can tell after 1 week about some of the biggest takeaways in college football this weekend, right? I think the biggest takeaway for college football this season has got to be that the Florida Gators are going to suck.
I don't know if that's the
We
biggest.
said that last season.
Yeah.
I think
You're
that's
the only
biggest
one that
takeaway.
did that.
The biggest takeaway for you is that they suck, Hanger. But,
Yeah.
However, I think we have bigger topics to discuss.
Well, let's talk about this Florida Gators versus Miami, though. Let's talk about this game for just a second, if y'all don't mind.
I was going to wait for, when we talked about who stuck out, and I would say, but since we're talking about it, we're going to talk about it. So if you watch that game, Ward for Miami is an athlete.
He's insane.
Miami
Yeah.
has athletes. They're the only reason that the ACC is going to remain relevant this year, unfortunately. So I think my biggest takeaway from this past week is the ACC has lost its relevance.
The ACC, yeah, I mean, okay. So big loss for Clemson against Georgia. Big loss for FSU. Obviously, 2 in a row. That is rough.
Virginia
After
Tech.
being a double-digit favorite 2 weeks in a row.
So who emerges in your opinion in the
Is
ACC?
ACC?
ACC, it's Miami right now at the top of the field.
Because they beat Florida, so Florida was a good team. You're right.
North Carolina?
No. Yeah, don't sleep on the Yellow Jackets, guys.
Oh.
They just play solid, fundamental,
Jackets.
good football. I mean,
Run the ball.
And they're going to Syracuse this week.
I believe Syracuse is going to them, so it's going to be a home game for Georgia Tech. No, I'm sorry, Georgia Tech is going to Syracuse. Good call. That's a 12 o'clock game.
But we're worried about the run defense for Syracuse.
We are worried about the run defense, of course. They did not play Old Dominion. They played.
Who did Syracuse play?
Ohio.
They played Ohio. Ohio has a stud running back, put up over 200 yards against Syracuse. So that is an eyesore on the Syracuse line in a big 38-22 win. However, Cal McCord coming over from Ohio State. The coach from Syracuse said he's going to send the Ohio head coach a bottle of champagne for allowing him to lead that program. McCord put up over 348 yards, 4 touchdowns, and had 1 called back. If he had that would have been a Syracuse record with 5 touchdowns. But the big concern for Syracuse is can they stop the Georgia Tech run, which showed strong. But now that we know that Boston College also put up 238 yards against the FSU defense, maybe it's not as significant. We'll find out this weekend.
So you think a big takeaway from this weekend is Georgia Tech winning 2 games, solid.
they're
solid
better.
2
They're
games.
better than they anticipated. Then you go to the other side of the ACC. Clemson. I mean, that was just awful. I mean, there's no way around it. And then you look at NC State, who was just. I mean, Western Carolina gave them all they wanted Thursday night. So
Yeah, the first 2 quarters were rough. Third quarter they were losing in the third quarter. Then they ended up doing well. In the
my
fourth
point
quarter.
being is it's who was the 2 teams that most people are arguing between that's going to win the ACC looked awful.
And then Virginia Tech loses to Vandy, and they were like the sleeper of
Yeah.
the group.
24 returning starters for Virginia Tech.
Yeah, 24 returning starters. How is that? Oh, because of the kicker and okay.
Hey, don't
gotcha.
think Virginia Tech has had a good team since Michael Vick.
Yeah, and they're not going to have a good team this year.
They haven't been
probably.
overly relevant.
That's a minute.
Unless for some reason Vandy just happened to be good this year. I don't know. I mean,
They put up some stats.
Look, Vandy being good means they win 6 games and go to a bowl game. That means Vandy's good. That's my big extent.
When you win 6 games at Vandy, you get to become the Penn State head coach.
yeah. So are the Gamecocks the new Vandy of the or
Yes.
is it Florida that's the new Vandy of the
That's a toss-up, man.
We're going to find out in November, though, aren't we?
well, Gamecocks don't play.
Oh, they don't play?
Florida this year, no.
That's not fair because the schedule comparisons don't match up. And Florida's had way more.
Well, USC's is in the top 5, I believe.
Yeah.
It was when Clemson was having, but preseason, Florida was number 1. I think Gamecocks were 5.
Yeah, they have a tough schedule, but and that means Florida's probably going to lose a lot more games than Carolina. Not a lot, maybe like 1 or 2 more games than the Gamecocks do.
If you look at the lines right now, Florida is only favored to win 2 out of their remaining games.
Oh my God.
It's scary. It's going to be for this Florida event right here.
A couple 40%ers in there, 40-plus percenters in there, but only favored in 2.
This weekend looks pretty good, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're going to win this weekend.
This was one that they were at 90%.
98%.
What needs to happen is we need to win 73-0 this weekend in order to at least say, hey, okay, at least we're slightly on track. And now let's go play. I think we play Texas A&M the next week in the Swamp, and Texas A&M showed that they're not really that good of a team this year as well.
So is
they lost at home.
Graham Mertz going to be cleared to play? He had concussion in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Wednesday they'll clear him. Is what I'm hearing.
Should he play in game 2, or should he go ahead and put Ridgeway in there and just go with him?
Lagway.
Lagway,
Yeah. So I think I like Graham Mertz. He had a bad game against Miami. He was rushed like hell. It was a tough showing for him. I think he had 93 passing yards. I mean, it was bad. And I think he was 11 for 20 or something passing, like barely made 50% completion percentage. So I'm not sure what I think about Graham Mertz right now, but he showed last year that he could play. He was on top of his game last year. I think he gets into this game on Saturday, plays against Stanford, has a good game against Stanford, and then the following week Texas A&M. They throw Lagway in for some plays like they did with Tebow back in the day. All the fans are pissed off because they don't play Lagway at every single game. We win. But shit, we have to win 4 games in order to. I mean, I don't know. It's good. I'm depressed. I'm depressed about my team right now. I don't want to talk about it.
So you talk about a team. You're talking about teams that stop drop. I brought up a point last week, and there was actually some discussion. I don't think there is anymore, and that was DJ Alphabet. Is he the starter at the end of the year?
I didn't think he would make it through the entire
I'm
last
surprised they didn't pull him.
DJ Uwe Ungundale.
Alphabet. But here, I mean, he might be the only person that is taking more heat than Dabo Sweeney right now.
I mean, that guy has a lot of stress on his shoulders right now, and he does not perform well under stress, and it's only going to get worse throughout the season if that's the case. Unless by some miracle he starts talking to Tom Brady and learns how to do some yoga.
He stays on his first read every time. He never comes off his first read. I mean, he threw some passes to that number 84, the white receiver, way over his head because he wasn't open. He was going to throw it to him anyway.
Yeah.
The guy he's not good.
And his accuracy for being in the league for 5 years
No,
is nowhere near. I mean, he overthrew. There should have been more interceptions on the board than there was last night.
Yeah, I mean, most college football players have been there for 5 years, at least progress every year. It doesn't seem like he does at all.
regresses.
Yeah, exactly.
Bottom line is, whether Georgia Tech or Boston College have been good in the past couple of years, they haven't been very good, but they've always been grinding teams. What Florida State has shown me is they have no grind, and they're not going to gut it out. Go ahead and put a bow on it. That gift is gone.
And Norvell is now 2-10 without Jordan Travis as his quarterback.
Now, let me ask you something really fast about Mike Norvell then. He's sitting there. He made a very bad decision in bringing DJ Uyunglele over to the team this year. It's clear at this point that it's a bad decision. I mean, what was he thinking?
I don't think it's a bad coaching move after the numbers that he put up at Oregon State last year.
Look, this goes back to exactly what Nick Saban said. If you got a $20 million payroll, you better make sure they can play your shit out of luck. And you're seeing that at Florida State right now. Their $20 million payroll is not holding up their end of the bargain.
I think what we're seeing is the difference in style of play in the leagues. And if you look at what Ungale did last year at Oregon State, he had fast athletes all around him catching the ball. And with defenses that played loose in the Pac-12, he had high-scoring games, and he had big stats. Now you're in a grind, and he doesn't know how to grind. He doesn't know how to do the on-target timing passes, like what we saw when he was doing at Clemson, which is why he didn't stay at Clemson.
And he had a coach, Jonathan Smith at Oregon State. We talked about this last week. Game plan for him perfectly. I don't know that Norvell's game plan on anything besides check that. I mean, bad slants and terrible run play. I just don't know.
How many more games does he start?
I think
How many games is Norvell there?
It's hard to tell. 'Cause
Who do they have this week? Who do they have this week? Memphis is a very good group of 5 school. You let them be losing at halftime, they pull them.
Then they play Cal.
They can.
Then they play SMU. SMU's
I'm
pretty
telling you,
good too.
they could lose every game at this point.
SMU's
You like get
good.
like a.
Then they play Clemson.
That's
Then
what
they
I'm
play
saying.
Duke.
At
Then
what
they play
point
Miami.
They're in trouble.
But at what point did they get rid of the coach?
They do play Charleston Southern.
I don't think one bad season made
Going back,
coaching.
they were a quarterback away from the Final Four last year.
I mean, again, he's 2-10 without Jordan Travis as his quarterback at Florida State.
Well,
That
the
is
other
not a
thing,
good
well,
record.
here's what's being exposed as much as the quarterback play is. Last year, they could score with people. Their defense is not good.
No.
And nobody's paying any attention. That ain't got a damn thing to do with
Nobody
it.
sniffed 200 yards on the ground against them last year with their front four last year. They do not have the athletes. They don't have the stopping power. That's a huge difference, especially when you're a quarterback.
So there's a lot of passion about Florida State apparently at this table, but
I
there's
just don't
another
think
thing.
anybody saw it coming. I just think that's the shock.
Right.
Nobody saw it.
Yeah, to start ranked number 10 in the country. I mean, you realize that these rankings aren't that important.
If they'd have had a major injury, you go, oh, it's an injury.
All right, guys, we're in Columbia, South Carolina, not Tallahassee. We got to keep it rolling.
Yeah, so LSU had a bad showing this week. Brian Kelly, is he on the hot seat right now?
I've said forever.
He should be.
Oh, yeah.
He is not that good a coach. He's a jerk. He's not. He's fine for a coordinator. He's not a head coach.
So the mountain mama mountaineer over here has a lot of passion about LSU's coach Brian Kelly. So let's hear it, man. You had a big write up on the.
Yeah, I watched his entire press conference. He went like 40 minutes. He in the very beginning he blamed himself. But then he went on to make backhanded comments about his quarterback. He said that Miller Moss for USC made the plays and his quarterback didn't.
It's never him.
It's never him.
It's
He did
always
the
somebody
same stuff the other day, and he's doing it now. He has always been doing this. I think he went on to throw his defense under the bus.
Threw the whole team under the bus.
Yeah,
Basically said they gave up and they're sitting on the bench in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, at least
What is his buyout?
I mean, he's
not going anywhere because he's going to win that game.
he was Notre Dame, but never could win the big game. So that was the year they had Taglia,
Monteo.
Monteo, that's it, with the big girlfriend.
Catfish.
And then they went in and got smacked around as soon as they entered the playoffs. So
He's going to be under a lot of pressure in Baton Rouge.
I mean, this is
but
the-
it's not going to be. They're not going to buy enough.
But this is the team. This is a school that fired their coach a year after he won a freaking national
with
championship,
the best team, probably the best championship team ever in college.
and they fired Coach O. Yeah, and they fired Coach O like not even thinking about
This
it.
is also a team that held on to Les Miles about 3 years too long. Also.
Yeah, but I mean it's it's LSU, man. I think that Brian Kelly, this is his final season if he doesn't turn things around. But it's one game. It's one game. You
I
can't.
disagree with that just because I think he put some stock in the team. Nobody was expecting them to do what they did last year, and they overperformed it last year. So we'll see what happens. I think they've still got a lot of football.
You got to
players.
think about the way they start every season. The last 5 years, they were 0-1 after the first game. For the last 5 years, they didn't have a losing record last year.
Yeah.
So maybe they just hit a bump.
Oregon underperformed this week. The struggle against Idaho,
So I got a thought on it. Did anybody watch that game at all?
they put up yards like a mother. Like,
Yeah.
they put up 500 yards.
So the stats. So I really believe they went completely vanilla. I don't think they showed anything. I don't think they wanted to show anything. I don't think their goal was to blow Idaho out. They got bigger fish to fry. I think Oregon's just fine.
I saw that exact same thing, but a different game.
So you think so? Okay, so they just played the same 3 or 4 plays over and over again.
I think
just so they're not showing their
went
cards.
very vanilla.
I mean, that's probably smart.
Yeah, you cannot get Dylan Gabriel hurt against Idaho. You can't be showing your cards because the Big Ten doesn't know Oregon. I'm sure they're looking at film and stuff like that. But I'm that game. I'm not surprised by it. I think Dan Lanning is a very smart coach. I think he just played. You just got to beat them. That's all you got to do. But they do not matter in the grand scheme of things.
Is that what Beaver did against ODU? No.
Yeah,
but it's
they let low against ODU.
and I thought about that as well. Here's the thing: that's a product of this 12-team playoff. You know, when you had to do what you for Final Four, you had to show out in just every powerhouse every week. Now you can throttle back and just get the W and just get into the playoff. Yeah, I mean, you want to get a top 4 seed, but just get in.
That was Florida's strategy this week, and let's just lose to Miami big time, but they're going to go win the SEC
But I think
championship.
that brings up a great point because I don't think that's one that I thought about. Before to your point is you had to prove it. If you were between 4 and 6, there's 6 teams that are elite. Everybody's got maybe 1 loss, and then they're going to start resume digging. Oh, what do you mean you only beat Idaho? Well, no, it's 12 teams. If you're looking at the long term, 1 loss, they're not even going to look at that Idaho game. They're going to look at the last 3 games and see who's trending and getting the big bowl.
And if Oregon is in the Big Ten championship, they're pretty much in the playoff anyway.
Yeah.
So make the Big Ten championship, lose 1 game in the Big Ten, and that's it. And you're in.
So I was going to say Idaho overperformed, but maybe you're proving me wrong. So who overperformed?
The Tennessee Volunteers. The Tennessee
that's what I have
Volunteers.
too.
Yes.
Well, who did they play? They played Chattanooga.
No, they're playing Chattanooga. But let me tell you what, they did what they wanted to do.
They did put
when
750
wanted to
yards
do
of
it.
offense.
And it was like toying. It was like the cat with a little mouse versus some of these other schools. NC State that play. Chattanooga is actually a pretty good FCS team. They compete for the Southern Conference Championship every year. Western Carolina is trash. So to give you the juxtaposition there, Tennessee could have hung 100 on them if they'd wanted to.
Well, Ole Miss could do the same thing. Ole Miss did the same thing.
Tennessee
But
and
the
Ole
point is,
Miss and
the
Auburn
thing is,
did good.
but here's the thing though. Said who overperformed? Ole Miss. Everybody said, everybody said Tennessee was ranked 15th in the country. Everybody said, they're going to have a good year. I've already said it. Nico Alphabet will be in the Heisman conversation when they release the numbers. That kid can play.
And we expect 73-0 out of Lane Kiffin, to be honest with you. I don't
True,
know,
that's true.
You know.
That's true. It felt like this week there was a lot of FCS come to play this week. They get a lot of
do.
teams
That's their Super Bowl.
in trouble. I talked to you earlier. Texas Tech held on by 1 point in overtime against Abilene, 52-51.
Yeah,
Texas Tech's
Texas
supposed to be a
football
decent
right
team
there.
this year, so you just never know with those FCS teams. But yeah,
But to Dave's point, they're going to come in and they're going to play their hearts out because that's
their Super Bowl.
that's their Super Bowl. Yeah.
I'm just going to throw this one out there because we're not talking too much about them, and I think we should.
This is a team that overperformed?
Yes,
Okay.
and we had low expectations. Brand new head coach in a huge program, Alabama. Alabama came in. They absolutely did. They didn't play anybody, but they played. They did what they should have done, and I don't think
Did they
anybody
shut the
expected-
team out, or was it just 3
I
points?
think it was 3 points.
3 points, okay.
For their
Yeah, I mean,
but
they
0 was
shut
a
them
3.
I think Alabama shut them down. 63
So I think new coach. New coach came in, wanted to make a statement, probably pep talked his team up and said, "Hey, this is Alabama football. Let's get out there and show them." It shows that those players are behind that coach.
And they played Western Kentucky, which is not an FCS team. It's
right.
a Conference USA
Yep.
team. I believe.
That's usually a pretty solid team.
Yeah, and they have a great mascot.
In lieu of Bailey Zappi.
I still stick to my guns that Miami overperformed. I'm still not giving Miami their props yet. I'm not going.
See, they overperformed this game, of course. Like, they came out rocking and rolling against Florida. We already talked about it, but that was one of my overperforming teams, just because they were favored by 2.5 points. That's it, and they won by 20+ points. So
How about Georgia? We're Clemson.
Georgia,
I
that's
don't think they
actually
overperformed. I think Clemson underperformed.
Well,
I disagree.
Well, look at the second half. Look at the second half.
6-0 at the half, and then it just went from there for sure.
That's what happens when FCS teams play FBS teams.
those Auburn Tigers were up 21-0 in the first 3 minutes of the game. Overperformed. Big time. I'm telling you.
Vanderbilt overperformed against Virginia Tech.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody expected that to be a win.
I think Virginia Tech underperformed now. Here's the thing. For a legit game, where it should be close like that, the tough thing there is that they overperformed to the other team. They just not what they were sold to be to start the season. That's the thing you got to look at too. The time will tell in the next week or two. Like at Virginia Tech, if Virginia Tech comes back and runs the table in the ACC, you can say, yeah, they just had a bad game. But if they come in here, next thing you know, they're 6-6. No, they just weren't as good as they were sold.
So is it just because they had 24 starters coming back that everyone's like, okay, they're going to be good this year?
Well, I think it's
because they weren't that good last year, right?
ACC is just that bad this year. It's awful. I mean, it's the Wild West. Anybody can win this thing. I mean, Boston College may get hot and run the table, and next thing you know, win the ACC. That conference is so bad right now. It's not even funny.
You're going to laugh a little bit, but the
Syracuse might win it.
No, the Georgia Tech Syracuse game might be the implication on who's in the championship game.
Wow.
And to be fair to Virginia Tech, in the second half when they woke up, it was 11 a.m. start Tennessee time. When they woke up, they were hammering Vanderbilt in the second half. They lost their quarterback going into overtime. So I mean, I'm not saying that they didn't deserve to win the game, but Virginia Tech could have won that game.
I mean, that's how the game goes, though, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
There's a couple flamethrowers that some coaches are trying to sit on right now, right? I would say that there's a few coaches out there that aren't just on a hot seat; they're sitting on the fucking face of the sun right now. And that's
two in particular.
That's Billy Napier.
Yep.
How about does he get fired now, or does he get fired at the end of the season? Anyone have thoughts on that?
Depends on who's out there, man.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my thing is they would be better served to let him ride it out, let it go out gracefully. Because again, you want to present yourself as a school that when they invest in you, they're willing to ride you till the end. They'd be better served to suck it up, let him walk gracefully, take his big SEC payout and retire, and then go get you a big name coach. The problem is, you cut bait in the middle of the season when it gets hard. What does that tell the next coach coming in?
Yeah.
I mean, hey,
What does that tell the recruit?
Yeah.
Who you're recruiting?
And the NIL, the transfer portal recruit that's looking to come in. Yeah.
It's close to my heart, obviously, because it's Billy Napier, as sports coach. I don't know, man. I don't want to start fresh again. Like, he's been recruiting well. Maybe the coaching is a little bit off. I mean, he could pull a Scott Frost and bring Scott Frost tried his last season. He was calling the plays, and then he brought in an offensive coordinator. Still didn't work. At least give him the chance to bring in an offensive coordinator next season.
I compare them to South Carolina. Okay, I think the cupboard was left so bare from the previous administration, since plural, that you already are starting from the ground up. And that the thing is that you just got to give this thing time. So when Spurrier walked away from South Carolina, that program was decimated.
He
The minute
that
walked
was a
out.
terrible class he had.
Yeah, and they've never recovered from that yet. So I think Florida had a few bad decisions in there. They had a couple bad. The thing is, our Texas having one subpar season, and those recruits start going everywhere else. For example, when Miami was walking off the field, they walked by the recruiting section. It's like, come to Miami. You don't want to play here. Come to Miami. And I mean, you can't tell me that didn't resonate a little bit after what they saw on the field.
It's rough, yeah, for sure.
What record does Napier need to survive?
He needs 7 wins.
75. 75.
I think 6-6. In any bowl game, he survives.
Yeah.
And that's possible.
With the hardest schedule in the country?
Yeah.
6-6. That should be what happens. If that actually happens, I don't know. I think it'll depend on if there's any coaches that pique their interest a little bit. But
Is Dabo Swinney on the hot seat right
he's
now?
not on the hot seat, but
One at a time. Go.
I don't think he should. He's not, but he should be.
Okay.
He should be from the standpoint of. I put up a thing today, and I thought it was a great analogy. They said Dabo Swinney is a flip phone. You haven't gone to iPhone. You're not with the time. I'm a Dabo guy as far as how I think the program should run. He's one of 4 Division I major conference teams that didn't take a transfer portal this year.
And the other 3 were the academy.
That's what I'm saying. So guess what? You got to get with the times or get gone. And when you tell, we don't get any portal guys because they're not good enough to play here, I think this weekend proved you wrong. You better change your philosophy or they will run you out of town. Because here's the simple fact of the matter is, it's what have you done for me lately? Yes, he brought them 2 national championships. They haven't won since '81. But Coach O got fired the year after a national championship. Look, that fan base up there should be more than thrilled with a 75 record based off of what they're up against. They won't be. They've had a taste of the Coke, and they want to come back for more. He better figure out and change it, or he's gone. Not this year. He won't be gone this year. But the thing is, $60 million buyout, that's a tough pill to swallow as well. But if he keeps this up, he won't be there in 5 years.
9-3 record keeps, or 9-2 record. 9-3, sorry. Keeps him there, you think?
Yes, right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now, it will.
And honestly, no offense, but he's got to beat the shit out of App State this weekend.
It ain't going to happen. It won't happen.
It's not going to happen.
It won't happen.
It's going to be a tight game. I think they're going to win, and I think.
Well, you thought that last week. You saw what happened. I'm not saying they're going to. I don't know if they say that they're going to win, but if you think they're going to go hang 50 on App State, you're out of your mind.
But they're going to win, and they're going to win soundly because they're going to go in and say we have to.
Okay, so what's your definition of soundly? I know you got to move on. What's soundly? I'm curious. That's not soundly when you're playing an FBS school.
They're not playing
Sorry, Group of 5 school.
How many
I think
how many minutes, ball control, that kind of stuff counts.
I think 2 touchdowns plus is probably winning soundly. Then it depends on how the game ends.
I agree because Appalachian State is a
Competitive football.
Yeah, they're not they're not FCS. So you beat them by 2 touchdowns. I think that maybe it feels pretty good because they are a good team. They're dangerous. They're very dangerous.
If Dabo loses this game, is that get that a little hotter than or no?
I can't imagine.
Yeah, like Brian Kelly. Obviously, they'll give him pressure, but he's not going to.
And NC State, the gas just got turned way up.
One point that we forgot to make about Napier is that in his favor is the fact that Florida State is doing bad, right? That helps Napier.
Why is that?
Florida State,
I see no correlation on that.
Yeah.
And the reason why
Because that's the state of Florida. And with Florida State being successful, and Florida saying we suck now, that would put pressure on them to get somebody in there.
Florida plays UCF and Florida State this year as well, so that little in-state rivalry going on. If Florida wins both of those games, it does help a little bit. But if he's at 4-8 at the end of the season,
Is it safe to say this thus far? Granted, we're 2 games in. There's a long season. Thus far, is this the worst Florida football season on record if this trend continues?
Only because we have the hardest schedule in the country.
No, Florida, the state of Florida. When you look at all the programs collectively, thus far, is this the most underperforming first 2 weeks of Florida football?
Yeah.
No, because Miami won and so did UCF.
Yeah, don't sleep on Gus Malzahn.
Yeah, and USF. Yeah.
I mean, Florida State.
And Florida. I mean, when's the last time both of them were this bad?
I guess you thought about the big 3.
2013 or 2016. Sorry.
All right.
Fair
enough.
But I mean, Florida
State wasn't that good a couple of years ago. They're kind of mediocre.
Oh no, they had some bad seasons. They weathered.
Bobby Bowden.
Yeah.
They had. Anyway, let's move on. Brian Kelly's not on the hot seat. We kind of determined that, right? All right. Standout players from week 1. Anyone have a standout player that they thought about from week 1? I'll start it off first and just say Jackson Dart, Ole Miss, 418 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. Not exactly impressive against Furman, but hell, it shows where you're at for the season. That you're ready to be a Heisman candidate right there.
I got one for you. So you're a running back. You have 12 carries, 110 yards, and a touchdown. That's a hell of a game, right? Except when you're the backup and your starter is 20 carries, 267 yards, and 6 touchdowns.
Who's that?
That's Boise State.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, when the backup's getting 100 and a touchdown and you ain't even getting half of the guy in front of you, I'm like, that game right there, if nothing else, put that kid on the map. I mean, he does that, puts up those kind of numbers. Now, granted, they're playing Georgia Southern, who they suck. I don't care if they're undefeated. They suck. That's about like you in Florida State. Georgia Southern sucks.
All right, Cheeks, give it to me.
I got one, and only because I had to listen to an hour-long conference because Kentucky's game was delayed due to rain. So I got to listen to Vanderbilt's coach go on and on and on. The quarterback, Diego, for Vanderbilt, he was pretty freaking amazing. He even got 3 touchdowns.
He got what?
He threw 3 touchdowns.
Oh, wow. Okay, you can't complain there. So another one I had on mine, Tetaroa McMillan from Arizona, 304 receiving yards on 10 receptions with 4 touchdowns. And then their quarterback, Noah Fifta, 422 passing yards in 1 game with 4 touchdowns. Insane numbers for those guys. Arizona might be the spoiler in the Big 12. And my man over here, the Mountaineer from West Virginia, what do you think about that? Arizona being the spoiler in the Big 12.
I don't think it's a spoiler at all. I think they're actually one of the preseason picks to win it. I think you looked at Oklahoma State, Utah, and Arizona, all 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me, Arizona, although I'm concerned about their defense. Well, I'm not really concerned about their defense because we got to play them this year in the Big 12. But their offense is phenomenal. I mean, they haven't had something like that since their Big 12 biggest years about 10 years ago.
Well, the only thing with Arizona to me is you're coming out of the Pac-12 where you did this last year, and then you flopped around at the end of the season. Now you're running through a Big 12 schedule, which is way more intense than the Pac-12 was. So we'll see if the rubbers meet in the road around Game 7, Game 8, see if they can hold up.
Yep.
Got Jackson Dart from Ole Miss.
I said that already, man. Yeah, that was what I said first. 418 yards. It's right there. 418 yards with 5 touchdowns. Yeah, insane numbers.
97 QBR.
I hate to say this guy, but Drew Eller for Penn State is a freaking machine. That new offense they've installed, now I know I'm a West Virginia homer, but that new offense they installed, he is a deep threat now. No more dink and dunk, no more 3 yards in the cloud of dust at Penn State. They've got receivers. He's got an arm. He actually ran for a couple of first downs. He only completed 11 passes. That's all he needed to complete for 216 and 3 touchdowns. He is Big Ten. Better look out. Drew Aller is sophomore. He is for real this year.
I think that's something Penn State had to do because they had smothering defenses that beat them. They were going to be a perennial 9-3, 10-2 team if they didn't change.
I got some listener questions.
Let's do it.
I went out, I asked the fans, and they responded with some pretty good questions. Did I send you guys these questions already?
Yeah, I got it.
All right. I didn't choose them all, just so you're aware. So I'm going to go with them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Do we have a quarterback controversy at Michigan after the feel-good story of Davis Warren winning the job over expected winner Alex Orgy? Did I say that
That's
right?
correct. Yes, that's how you
Say that again. Don't say it too fast.
Apparently he had a lackluster performance against Fresno State, which is true.
Is there a quarterback controversy at Michigan?
Not yet.
I think there's a team controversy because I don't think they know whether they're coming or going right now.
Who are they starting this weekend?
They're going to start the same quarterback,
We'll
Davis
see how that
Warren.
goes.
Yeah. Now, that's fine, though, because this is a team that has a defense that can hold people down in order to help that offense score.
We're going to talk about that in a couple minutes.
Exactly. Another question. What is the biggest overreaction from week one? Clemson getting stifled by UGA, USC win over LSU, or Vanderbilt being decent based upon beating Virginia Tech?
Vanderbilt.
Definitely Vanderbilt. Go ahead, Jeans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
So Virginia Tech got a bad
They
week.
flamed in, they'll flame out.
When was
Okay.
the last time Vanderbilt scored 3 touchdowns in one game?
It's probably been a while. Yeah.
You guys are Vanderbilt. They're Vanderbilt haters. Okay, I would say it's an overreaction. We don't know. Again, we talked about the ACC being weaker, and I said this in week one. If you go back and listen to tips, you can do it on your podcast. But Georgia's got a chip on their shoulder. They were slighted last year. I told you that they were going to come in and destroy everybody in their path for a little while. Clemson just didn't have the guns. Oftentimes, I do think Clemson is still a good team. I'll say that. Okay, so Chief, you feel better?
I do.
All right, we'll hug afterwards.
So all those guys.
What I'm saying is, Georgia, they went in that. I can only imagine the Kirby Smart conversation in the locker room. It'll be an up 6-0.
It'd been fun to listen
Yeah,
to.
there might have been a couple of clipboards thrown, a headset thrown or two.
I'm sure there was no cursing at all.
But when you have 4 and 5 stars, they wear out a team that may not have that depth that Georgia has still. It's not like they were a bad team last year. They were 5th in the country. So I don't think losing to Georgia is a cause for action against a coach, because Georgia's going to beat a lot of good teams this year. If you fired every coach that Georgia beats, you wouldn't have any freaking coaches left. I think that's an overreaction. I think Vanderbilt being good, everybody's talking about, oh, Vanderbilt's out of the basement. Look, man, Virginia Tech's been in the basement. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's see what week 2 brings.
What does B1G mean? Big Ten. What does Big Ten mean? What does Big Ten mean? Does anyone know?
Yeah, back a long time ago when they were creating the logo, they purposely incorporated the 1 and the 10. They made the G look more like a 0, and the 1 looked like an I, so that it altogether mashed together looked like Big Ten.
Oh, okay. You think that's scientifically proven?
Well, it goes back to the history books in the early part of the.
You would think some kid way back when could do better, but that's okay.
Moving on, we got pull out the pen and paper, because we have the list of the teams that we're going to be talking about today. And let's go through them. We'll go one by one. Who's your choice for Texas? So Texas, number 3, Texas is going to the big house to play number 10, Michigan. Michigan defense should be solid, but last week the offense against Fresno State was not really there, right? 4 for 11 on third down efficiency. Texas, that offense is insane. Defense is strong. So
Texas all day long.
Texas, you got Texas. All right. And what do you got, Mountaineer? Texas.
I think Texas annihilates.
Texas annihilates them,
I think
huh?
this gets ugly. Like by the end of this game, I think this game gets ugly. People go, whoa. I mean, really. Yep.
People are making bets based upon our statements here, so y'all better be ready.
Don't follow me.
Just for you bettors out there, let's talk about the line that's happened on that game.
Where I was going.
Last week, if you had bet Texas against Michigan, the line was 3.5. This morning when I woke up, it was 6.5. Now it's 7.
All the money's still going on Texas
All
right
the
now.
money's going to Texas. Whatever they say in Tennessee, and we'll talk about Tennessee here in a second, but give me Texas by 50. I actually think Texas will win by 24. It's going to cover the spread, in my opinion. Don't go out there and bet on it, but I can show you all my parlay has that on there. Texas is going to win by more than 7.
So Texas, everyone on our Facebook group, I posted this today. If you want to join the Facebook group, by the way, we're on Facebook, so just look it up, Guys Bar Talking Sports. Everybody has Texas winning that game as well. Even my most diehard Michigan fans, I've had say in Texas as well. What say you, Cheeks, Texas or Michigan?
As predictable as it is, I did pick Texas.
Chief.
Texas by 7 because Michigan's defense is still going to be playing.
Yeah, I think Texas wins. I don't think it's going to be as big as some people say.
Although Texas
but yeah.
needs to get their offense in line.
No, here's the thing about their
Texas needs to get their offense in line?
Yeah, because they do some questionable
Oh, jeez.
But Michigan,
They don't have to get there. They're fine.
So here's the reason I'm saying I think it gets ugly. It's not that Michigan's defense is that bad. They are not going to stay. They're not going to stay off the field. They're going to see 50, 60 snaps on the field. They're going to go 3 and out, get back out there, 3 and out, get back out there. And by the end of the game, you're winning, and they haven't got any gas left in the tank. I think this gets ugly late.
Ugly. Yeah, that's actually a good point.
I'm good with that.
Good point. All right. We're trying to get some beers here, folks. So we actually yell across the bar. We're trying to get bourbon and
It's guys at the bar talking sports.
That's right.
My apologies.
Who's your pick?
It's all good, man.
Who's my pick?
We already chose
I think we
Sandy.
already know. Gibbity.
I got Texas by 70. All right, 7. All right.
How about the Mountaineers?
Oh, we're going to the next game. What else?
Next game.
All right, next game.
No, he picked Texas.
Next, everyone's got Texas. All right, next game, number 14, Tennessee at number 24, NC State. First-ranked matchup for both teams, obviously. NC State struggled against Western Carolina. They were tied at the half. I mean, Western Carolina was even up during the third quarter. NC State somehow managed to squeak it out and win. They ended up winning, it was 34 points or so no problem there. Tennessee, 718 yards of total offense. This is an offense that can dominate. We will see if their defense can stop NC State's. What do you got? We'll start with the Chief. What do you got?
All right, I do think Tennessee's going to win, but I think NC State's going to play a really strong game. Maybe 10-point spread.
Gotcha, okay. And Cheeks, who do you got?
I have Tennessee. That was pretty easy.
All right, who do you got there?
So Carter Finley has always been a tough place to travel to and play. I don't care who you are. Carter Finley, they find a way to put it together. But not this week. Tennessee runs them out of the gym. This one's going to get ugly as well. I mean, again, they both played FCS schools. I don't care if NC State did throttle it back. Tennessee, barring injury, rolls them.
Chopper.
Tennessee all day.
And who do you got there, my man from West Virginia?
To pile on with my brother from another mother here, another Mountaineer at the table, Tennessee wins, and it's actually at the Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte.
I'm sorry.
It will be all Tennessee fans there.
The Mayo Bowl.
Yeah, so that makes it even more so Tennessee's favorite.
Who you got, sir?
Tennessee, the spread is 7.5 or was this morning. Gibbity, Tennessee, by 30.
God, I'm like, I can't get over it. All right, I got Tennessee also because I just don't like the way that NC State played last week. They pulled it off in the end only because Western Carolina doesn't have the depth that a team like Tennessee does, and Tennessee's going to be able to just run wild on them. No problem. I don't know about 30. I will stick closer to like 14 by 14.
I actually thought the game was at NC State when I bet it.
Now you like it even better.
I tell you,
Gibbity. Tennessee by
I remember what all those Tennessee folks say about when their coach does all that stuff, but they do some rhymes, and that's the best I can do right now.
All right, so those are the games that are going to pay your bar tab this week. We got our local favorite game.
I got 2 more games that'll pay your bar tab real quick.
All right, give them to me really fast.
The other one that's going to cover Oklahoma minus 29. They're going to cover that spread
Against?
Houston. Houston looked awful. Houston looked awful in the first week. Oklahoma looked good. Brett Venables, I always say never bet against Brett. The other game, which I hate to do because it's pain in my heart, but I'm going off of history, not current year. The Gamecocks never played good against Kentucky, for crying out loud.
Kentucky.
Minus 10. Go ahead.
Hold on, I was just about to go with our favorites, like local favorite game.
Go ahead.
Gamecocks
I'll
at
take it at
Kentucky.
minus
Tell
10.
me more then.
Okay, so Gamecocks never play well against Kentucky, home or away.
They never. Yeah.
Well, we are
Look,
away.
I've watched amazing teams go in there at home against Kentucky, look good in the first half, and then sit on the bench in the second half. So they're going into Kentucky minus 10. Unfortunately for the Gamecock fans, and I am one of them, maybe I'll feel better if I lose my parlay betting on them knowing the Gamecocks win. However, I think Kentucky will win by about 14.
I say gibbity, Kentucky by like 60 at this point because I don't have a lot of confidence in the Gamecocks right now. I was at that game and I was just like, oh, these guys are not.
Says a
very good
Florida
at all.
fan. Says a Florida fan.
So who you got there, Chief?
No, I got Kentucky on this one.
Wow, a bunch of locals not liking their Gamecocks.
Gamecocks look basically
Dismal.
Dismal. There's a good word. Rebel, I love it. They looked freaking dismal against Old Dominion.
Chapo, who you
I
got?
agree. Kentucky. I don't think they're going to blow them out, but they're going to.
This is going to warm up
Gamecocks looked pretty
Longhorn.
rough last week.
Look, Mountain Mama, who you got?
Kentucky.
Kentucky. All right, everyone's going Kentucky. Cheeks, who you got on this game?
I got Kentucky.
Kentucky, and you got it over there, Rebel. You're gonna go against the crowd, or you're gonna
So
stick with us?
pull the
Pull it so fast.
South Carolina by field goal. Look, it's one of those things. This is so bad.
You're just trying to like to get the fans to like
No, I don't know if they can play worse than they did last week. So it's only up from here.
All right. Upset alert. What games are going to drive their fans to drink? What teams' fans are going to be drunk at the end of the weekend? And I got the first one. We're talking about Boise State at number 7, Oregon. I was unimpressed with the week 1 performance at Idaho, but now that I've listened to my man, the Mountain Mama, and his little speculation about this Oregon team, I don't know, but Boise State throwing up 300 and some odd yards rushing, I think that Oregon better not lay down on this game, or they might be looking at a loss at the end of the day. What do you think about that? What do you think about that, Mountain Mama?
I think you're so wrong. It's pathetic. Oregon is going to blow their ass out of the water. Boise State gave up a ton of yards and points against Georgia Southern State. One of those mediocrity schools that are in Georgia.
No, it's called Georgia Southern. They play in a town called Statesboro, a.k.a. Distinct.
So
It don't matter.
The spread is 19.5. Give me Oregon by 30.
Give it, Oregon. Who do you got there, Rebel?
Oh, Oregon, and this, to his point, it has nothing to do with the offense. It has to do with the fact that Boise State let Georgia Southern get in a shootout with them, who runs this pseudo triple option Todd Helton, not Todd Helton. Is it Todd? No, that's a baseball player.
So it's
No, it was Georgia
Monkey
Southern.
from Army?
No, I'm saying it's their coach trying. What's it? Southern Cal. The guy Helton, Southern Cal. He's their coach.
You're just throwing out teams right now. We don't know.
You're talking about Lincoln Bradley?
No, I'll get back to that. Anyway, they're not stop.
all right. Cheeks, who do you got over there?
I picked Oregon too. I feel like we're all picking.
All right. No, well,
I think it's an easy pick week. Get your bets in.
Yeah.
but this is a potential.
Carolina, go to DraftKings.
This is upset alerts, right? So I'm just worried about upsets on certain teams. Who do you got, Chief? What do you think about this?
I got Oregon on this one, but it's a lot closer than everybody else.
All right, who do you got there?
Oregon money line. I'm not confident in the points. Sorry, Mama.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be an upset either, but the potential's there. The potential's there.
Yeah.
But I think that Oregon is a better team than they looked at on paper last week.
Yeah.
So I got Oregon as well. Not by 50, though. All right, so who do you got?
Oregon.
Chopper, all right, Oregon. All right, so there is a team close to the Rebels' heart, App State, going down to Death Valley. They call it
I played there in 1997.
Yep.
We had that game won. It was 18-13 because our coach was an idiot. But that's a whole other conversation.
Number 25 Clemson dropped 10 spots on the
shouldn't be right.
on the AP Top 25 poll. Last week, my thoughts were
Again,
quite.
losing to Georgia is not causing you dropped out of the top 25. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, last week, my thoughts would have been quite different on this game. I was thinking Clemson was going to have a good season, possibly win the ACC. This week, I don't know, man. I didn't see a lot of confidence in Dabo Swinney at the end of that game. He was blaming himself, all that stuff. They just don't have the offense that's going to move the ball. But I still think they beat App State, though. What do you think about that, Cheeks?
I picked App State.
All right.
Yeah,
you
I
got App
think App
State.
State's going to do it.
Wow, so we're going to be divided on this.
Yeah,
one. Chief,
good.
I got Clemson by 7. It's in
We're
Death
still-
Valley.
and you're a little bit of a homer on them because
Yeah.
you pay them money, right?
Yeah.
All right, so
A lot of money.
yeah. All right. Who do you got? Who do you got, Rooster?
It's time to put your money where your mouth is. So I'm going to say, and I'm going to take Clemson money line. And if Clemson wins, you owe me a
Money
beer.
line? They're 17-point favorite. You want money line?
Hang on, hear me out. I'm going to give you odds. If Clemson wins, you owe me a beer. If App wins,
You owe me it's a family show, ain't it? Here we go.
if App wins, I'll buy you 4 of your drinks.
Oh wow, that's
Wow.
That's 41. That's fair. Dakota spread or money line?
Money line.
Okay. I'll
All
take
right.
that. I'll take that.
It's a
For shits and giggles.
it's a man's bet.
Fair enough.
Mountaineer. Who you got, man? App State, Clemson. I know you're a little bit of a. I know you like those underdog teams, especially ones that have Mountaineer in their name.
Yeah, I got suckered last week. I'm not going to do it again this week. I think Appalachian State keeps it so close, like 17-13.
Okay.
I think it's going to be it's not going to be the over. It's going to be the under. 17.5 is too much in this game. 17-13 Clemson. It'll be close.
Choppa!
I'm going to go with App State because I just want to hear the stories about that next week.
If that happens, I just don't
want
want
to hear the stories.
and I will lose friends.
I just want to hear the stories. So I'm going with App State.
Oh, I'll throw another bet. No, or I'll add my bet. Or actually, if I will buy you a beer if Clemson wins. I will come pay for your bail if I get
That's a good one.
That's a 3-hour drive.
I know where it is. A hell of a ride, though.
We'll put it on the Guys of the Bar Talking Sports tab since we make so much money off this show.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dave Peeper makes it out of there, if they win. So.
So it's my turn to pick this game, or are you going to go ahead and pick it?
We know what you're
No, I'm going to let you go with it, man. What you got?
So a
I
little
always
bit,
go for my home team.
a little bit of analysis to what we've discussed here. I was in Boone last week. They played East Tennessee State. They won 38-10. I kid you not. They ran the same 6 plays the entire game.
App State did?
Yeah, it was a very vanilla game, and we won 38-10. They don't call us the giant killers for nothing. The games we didn't, the games we won, the ones we lost in overtime to Tennessee. We lost in overtime to Penn State. They call us the giant killers for a reason. The Mountaineers get a lead. They hold on for dear life, and they squeak out a 2-point win. And I may jump naked in a Lake Hartwell if that happens.
I'll look for video on TikTok. All right, the bail just went up.
I've seen him naked. The bell won't be there.
What the hell?
Pay small prices for small
I
things.
just don't want to hear about the story when you actually saw him naked. So I don't want to hear that
He was
story.
leaving his bedroom.
All right,
Oh, we're no longer PG.
Arkansas.
We didn't say anything non-PG. We alluded.
Arkansas is going to Oklahoma to play Oklahoma State. Number 16, Oklahoma State. Potential team to win the Big 12, Oklahoma State. But I don't think you need to be sleeping on Arkansas this season at all, because I got Arkansas winning that game. What say you, Mountaineer? Are you going to be a Big 12 homer, or are you going to say that the SEC is just better than the Big 12?
I don't think the SEC is necessarily better than the Big 12 here. I think you can't judge these two teams on that. I think Arkansas wins because Oklahoma State loses this kind of game every single year.
Yeah, he's not wrong, except it's at Okie State. That's the thing I think makes the difference. Oklahoma State pulls out the home win.
You think that's true, huh?
Yes.
All right, the Cowboys going to win that game. I just don't see it. But what do you got there, Choppa?
Not so fast going with Razorbacks.
I mean, you're an SEC homer.
Yeah.
Stick with it, baby. Stick with it.
I'm not going against them.
Not so fast.
All right, what do you got, Rooster?
Just like Oklahoma State likes to lose the big games the last at least 10 years, so has Arkansas. I think the home edge is on this one. I think high scoring game. I didn't look up to see what the over is. Probably would be a good bet.
62.5.
62.5. That's a little rich for my blood. But I will say that I think in this game this season, with the Big 12 being a little bit more fair than it used to be, Oklahoma State had a lot more to play for. I think Oklahoma State pulls this one out. I got Oklahoma State winning this game by 7.
Chief. Who you got?
Oklahoma State.
And we got.
Because it's in Oklahoma.
Okay.
It's an 11 o'clock start. Just keep that in the back of your mind. It's 11 a.m. start.
Yes.
Oklahoma time.
Oh, okay.
No juice.
I know neither time zones
So
are the
that's
same.
the same time zone as ours.
Yeah, they do at the same time.
Yeah.
I understand, but there's no juice. No juice for 11 a.m.
They've got Bobby Petrino back, don't they?
Is he on his motorcycle or not? Coming
I
to the
don't
stadium.
know.
All right.
That's the volleyball coach look like.
Thinks. Who you got winning this game?
The back of the plate before.
I picked Oklahoma State because it's the home game.
Okay. And did I get everybody? Everybody called on that one? Because I sort of forgot. All right.
No, you got them all.
So Tulane was 10-2 last season, right?
And the transfer portal gutted them.
But they still have a relatively good team. Similar stats I think they'll have this year as well. Can they pull out a top 25 win against number 17 Kansas State? And the guy that retired from the show, my good friend The Ripper, might have a chance. I wish he was here to talk about this because he's a Kansas State grad, but
Yeah.
he retired from the show. So we're going to go ahead and go around the table and see what do y'all think about that. Is this a potential upset, Chief? Not at all. Okay, so you got Kansas State winning. Rooster, do you think that there's a chance that Tulane pulls this thing off?
No, I think Tulane pulled off a couple of. Number one is they had athletes that were 2 and 3 stars that overperformed, and they stayed. And last year was the culmination point for that. I see Tulane going down a path of being back to the green wave of old. I see absolutely Kansas State, who always plays well again in the beginning of the season. Kansas State.
Yep.
I don't want to play Kansas State in the beginning of the season. I'd rather play them at the end of the season. Kansas State wins this game by 20 points.
K-State's always solid. K-State.
So you got K-State as well. Okay. Rebel, who you got, man?
I got K-State for the same reason Rooster just said, but to give Tulane a little bit of credit, this is kind of a cycle. They throw together one heck of a year. They kind of go back to still going to bowl games, but, winning 7, losing 5. Give them 5 years, and next thing you know, they're right back up there in a lot of big-time conversations. So
There is a little draw to be in Tulane. If you've never been, it's a
New
good
Orleans. New Orleans is a good time, so they've got the allure of that. So
All right.
K-State wins the game.
Country Roads, what you got,
How
man?
many nicknames have you had?
Kansas State or
Kansas State.
Tulane? All
Kansas
right.
State, yeah, Kansas State.
All right, Country Roads, you got that, man. I'm going to go stick with Kansas State as well. I don't think that's an upset. I just threw it on my list because Tulane had a good season last year. I wasn't sure how they were going to perform this year. So
We only really differed on the App State Clemson game and the Arkansas game. We didn't have a whole lot of variation.
No, Boise State, it's not going to beat Oregon. I think we all kind of determined that. Chopper got it. He said Kansas State as well. So he was just really quick about it. He was like, I don't even want to talk this game because it's not SEC. I don't give a crap.
So fresh,
K-State, I can't.
fresh off the presses,
too. That's right. That's
fresh
your
off the
premise.
presses. Before you move on, in the middle of a ride at Disney World right now, the legend who says he's going to bounce back, his performance just sent it in while riding what's the ride that they're Magic
Space.
Kingdom? No, the one's been there forever. Small World. He's in the middle of riding. It's a Small World, I think, and just did his picks. So in this segment, I just sent them to you. So
All
you
right.
can now. The legend said he's got to do better.
All right, so we'll listen to the legend. I'll listen to the legend later on. And I'll throw it
You got
in
to sit in right now.
Texas or Michigan?
Texas,
Tennessee or NC State?
Tennessee,
South Carolina or Kentucky?
Kentucky,
Boise State or Oregon?
Boise State,
App State or Clemson?
Clemson,
Arkansas or Oklahoma State? Kansas State or Tulane?
Tulane.
So that's the legendary picks right there. Woo! All right, going on. The last segment we're going to do tonight, guys, is What the Fuck. Everyone knows what the fuck is, remember, right?
Got to.
Yeah, we're doing What the Fuck. So, I don't know if you remember Mountain Mama, but What the Fuck? What the Fuck is where you come up with a What the Fuck moment from last week,
Clark
right?
Kent, you go in the booth, you come out as one person, you go back in as another.
I'm telling you, Country Roads.
I was here last week.
I'm telling you, Country Roads. If you got a good What the Fuck, it doesn't have to be college football to be anything. I think we've had like gymnastics before as What the Fuck.
I've done women's basketball. Let's do this.
So
Pretty easy to do.
So my What the Fuck is this. 6 games last week of the top 25 teams that had a score of 0 against their opponent, right? 4 games with 3 points scored, that's it. So that's like, and then 218 points scored by the losing teams against top 25 teams, 976 points scored by the winning teams. So that's a huge disparity right there in week 1 football. I think it's always that way. Should we get rid of these okey doke games and have some real competition on week 1?
No, it's fun.
No.
It's fun.
All right.
No, it's
Yeah.
look, you do those games because of the one time every 15 years somebody catches lightning in a bottle and it becomes football history.
All right.
And it's fun.
What the fuck, cheeks?
And oh, by the way, the small schools get a 1.5 million payday, and it helps them stay relevant.
That's true.
Win-win.
Well, I had to go NFL.
I did
It's
too,
fun.
actually.
Do it.
Yeah, so
Give it to me.
my what the fuck is the fact that so far, as of Tuesday, the Eagles are still traveling down to Brazil to play the Packers,
They can't wear green.
despite the fact that, well, they don't care about that, but despite the fact that the weather, the air quality is so bad because the forest fires are so awful. So they've considered keeping them here, and they have not done that yet. They are still going to fly down there, despite the fact that nobody can breathe.
Money.
Get the fires under control,
That's what
right?
happens when you got Cheeks on the show. She's carrying like a mom, and she's worried about those players.
Those poor players.
I feel that.
Yeah,
I feel
Jalen hurt.
I feel the care in your voice. That feels good.
What the fuck?
I want to play this. I took part last night in the most important thing of the next 4 to 5 months, and that was a fantasy draft. As we go through this draft, Josh Allen for fantasy was a higher rated quarterback than Patrick Mahomes.
Wow.
What the fuck?
Well, isn't he a higher paid guy, too?
I don't care.
He's higher paid than Mahomes.
We'll talk fantasy.
We may be doing a fantasy football segment on the show, but not on this show. It'll be a separate show released on Thursdays with the Rooster himself. We're going to call it Rooster's Crazy Fantasy. That's going to be the segment. All right?
As long as the rebel
No,
on.
The fantasy
Oh.
fest with the Rooster.
I think this is my what the fun moment.
We're all doing that right now.
Mountain Mama Country Roads. What's your
My what the fuck is all these names? Why can't I just get one name like everybody else?
Mount Mama, Mountaineer, whatever. Now you can buy them. You've had like 4 days tonight. Hey, rookie hazing. We don't promote hazing anywhere else except for Guys the Bar Talking Sports. Other disclaimer.
All right.
Not what the fuck.
I like what the fuck. Does anyone else know what the fuck before we close the show?
Yeah, no more varsity at halftime for Clemson's defense.
That's a good plan. All right, so I think that was a successful live show. Does everyone else think so? Yeah. All right.
We need a last call.
I don't do last call because it's they already did last call. So
Were you yelling?
Anyway, that being said, thank y'all for joining us every week for listening to Guys the Bar Talkers.
See ya.